It's not in the cards for you. I'm pretty good at insults, and I got the internet and a lot of free time.
The economic system in this country, America, is fucked up. How do you go from being one of the most prosperous nations in the world, perhaps even the most prosperous nation in the world, to all these millennials and Gen Z having full-time jobs and still living at home where they have to depend upon their parents? How is that evolution? That just seems like de-evolution. It's because the billionaires are hoarding more money because they want to become trillionaires. You couldn't spend that amount of money in 1,000 lifetimes. But they just want the money to impress their other rich friends. How the fuck is our country not lacking in telomerase when we have no empathy for one another, when we have no intelligence to understand that infinite growth on a finite world is not implausible? Could that be linked to telomerase depletion? Telomere attrition? Could that be linked to that? I mean, you look at other things. The testosterone level of men has been going down for 40 years. The progesterone level of women has been going down for 40 years. I don't have sources on that presently, but you can Google that and see that the testosterone and progesterone levels are going down. How do you go from, like, we're all in alignment against the establishment to conservatives being young men and liberals being young women? I don't understand how either of those are anti-establishment. We went from punk rock to fuck the establishment, hip-hop in the early 1980s to we are the establishment. We want money and pussy. And that's all we want, and dick. And, it doesn't make any sense to me how that's just the only thing. You know what I mean? Just money and power. How that's the only thing that we really want in sex because of that power. It just seems like de-evolution through telomere attrition to me, because we're lacking in intelligence, we're lacking in empathy, and our athleticism is going down. I'm not saying there's not strong men and strong women and intelligent men and women and empathetic men and women. I'm just saying that there's less of them now because it just seems like there's no time to work out, you know what I mean? Because everybody's working the grind and they are trying to get out of their parents' house and shit, but they can't because they can't afford a house or an apartment. And that just, it doesn't make any sense to me. Could that be linked to telomere attrition? Don't you think it's a bit funny that IQ has been dropping? It's dropped 12.45 points since 1889 to 2004. I only wonder what it's dropped from 2004 to 2025, because I imagine it would probably be something of a drop. Just look at society. Does it seem smarter to you? I mean, look at Einstein. It was one guy figuring out massive problems, and now it's like taking whole teams of scientists to figure out massive problems. Could that be linked to telomere attrition? Could that be lack of older men becoming fathers like they used to be, like middle-aged becoming fathers with younger women? Remember how that was a big trend in the 30s and 40s to be an older father with a younger wife? You probably don't, but you could look it up. What about the drug epidemic? Meth, fentanyl, Xanax, all those fucking pills that people are taking. Why would they be doing drugs unless they were less intelligent over time? Could that be linked to telomere attrition? Could that be linked to less older men becoming fathers with younger women? Because it would deposit more telomerase, which would be more intelligence, because it would accentuate the prefrontal cortex of the brain. What about the right supramarginal gyrus? What about the lack of empathy in this country now? The right supramarginal gyrus controls empathy, and that's getting less. That could be linked to telomere attrition, couldn't it? What about how for decades human beings were getting taller and taller with each subsequent generation? You look at baby boomers and Gen X, and on average they're about the same height. But millennials are shorter than Gen X, and Gen Z are shorter than millennials when it comes to height. You can look all this stuff up on Google. I'm not just going to just throw a bunch of links at you, because you can look all this stuff on Google. Are people getting shorter over time? The AI won't answer that question perfectly, because Gen Z are shorter than millennials. Just look around you. But that's not evidence enough. Of course, you can read the studies too, the papers, the articles that are on the internet, because and they exist. Why are they getting shorter? It doesn't make any sense. Why are we getting shorter as a species? Could that be linked to telomere attrition in the bones and the muscles and the skin? Lack of older fathers with younger women, younger moms, older men becoming dads. Wouldn't that kind of add more telomerase into the system, making us taller again as a species and growing more mentally, physically, emotionally, intellectually? What about telomere attrition? What about telomerase? When you look at a building, you presume it had a builder because it was built of previous things like wood and paint and nails. When you look at a painting, you presume it had a builder because it had previous materials such as paint and canvas. When you look at a car, you presume it had a builder because of engine parts and metal. When you look at anything, you presume it had a builder because it had previous parts. What previous parts did the creator have in creating the universe? When a teacher gives a test, they don't know how each individual student will answer. That's why they give the test. So if God is almighty and he tests us, why does he test us if he's almighty and already knows the answer from each individual? If you're supposed to pray, why does God need a divine plan? And if you have a divine plan, what do you need to pray for? A lot of people say you pray for asking thanks or giving thanks, but most people pray to ask for forgiveness or to get something. Isn't that what prayer is for? You're psychically telecommunicating with God telepathically through your hands. Oh God, I want a new bike. Or, oh God, please forgive me for sleeping with my sister-in-law. Like that kind of shit. Isn't that what you're usually doing? When you pray, are you saying, thank you for all the birds and the bees and the beautiful things? Not really. That's called praise, not prayer. Don't just change the goalposts. You see all these wokey libtards protesting Trump, and at the offset, that seems like a valiant effort because Trump sucks and I agree with you. But when have the right wing ever listened to protesters? Like since never? Let's say you go to college and you're in the lunchroom and everybody's eating food except for one person, and you're there with double portions for some reason. Like you just had enough to buy two, and so you're like, oh, those sandwiches are really good, so you bought two of them. Would you just let that one person starve if this happened every day? Let's say you meet someone over the internet and they say they really like you and they want to meet you. Well, are you going to do it without getting a Zoom chat? I mean, are you stupid or something? Of course not. Get a Zoom chat. If they don't want to do the Zoom chat with you, then they're not legitimately there to meet you. They're there to ghost you or to catfish you. Ghost means they're going to stand you up. Catfish you means that they're going to be a completely different person than what they say they are. Get that Zoom chat first, because if you don't, you're stupid. Republicans aren't exactly what I would call bright. A lot of them have Social Security and are for Social Security being cut. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. They're for less education, but they're for pro-education because they're supportive of anything Trump does, like cutting the Department of Education. They want smart people, but they want to cut the Department of Education. I don't understand that shit. That's self-defeating. A lot of what they say is against their own religion and what Jesus said. And I'm not trying to get on my high horse saying that I'm a Christian, but what I'm saying is that they don't listen to the Bible. They cherry pick it to feed their own defeatist needs. Like they don't even read it or something. Or they have some other dumb religion that just advocates everything that I just said, which would be socialism, like more taxes on the rich. When have you heard Democrats or Republicans en masse in Congress talking about taxing the rich? It's because no one listens to the protesters ever, since ever. Because protesting doesn't get anything done. The Democrats and the Republicans don't know what the fuck they're doing or what the fuck they're talking about. The Republicans will listen to their base and play to their base. The Democrats won't listen to their base and won't play to their base. But the Republican base is stupid, and the Democrat base, well, they might be protesting, but aren't those leftists, socialists, anarchists, communists, and such? How would they be Democrats if they're protesting? Protesting is for people that are of the street, that are of a poor economic level. Democrats like trickle-down economics because it made them into millionaires and billionaires. The Republicans like trickle-down economics because it made them into millionaires and billionaires. But it did nothing to elevate the poor and the middle class. They were already rich to begin with, and they just got richer, so they don't care about trickle-down economics being bad like they did in 1980. The Republicans are self-defeating, and the Democrats do nothing but sit on their hands and not listen, like a bunch of bitches. What's odd to me is how Trump supporters will call us sheep when I personally, and a lot of us, don't even listen to corporate media. I mean, I get most of my news from other sources that don't have anything to do with the big corporate capitalist media because I'm an anarcho-communist, but I'll vote for democratic socialists because I feel that they're the true liberal essence of this country, that aren't a bunch of woke retards or a bunch of like Republican-y Democrats, you know what I mean? Like the woke will be very classist in who they date and protest these economic systems that are faulty. I don't believe in having private property. I think that personal property is one thing, but private property is another thing. Private property is like big businesses. Those are traded publicly, and they're privately owned enterprises, and I don't believe that that's the way to go. Personal property is like your toothbrush on your Xbox. Private property is like CNN and Elon Musk and Tesla. That's private property because they own those things. And then they trade those things publicly. Private property is not personal property, you know what I mean? Private property has more to do with private corporate entities. And personal property is your own personal shit. And I don't believe in taking away your own personal shit because I'm an anarcho-communist. But like I said, I vote for progressives like Ilhan Omar if I had a chance to vote for her to be president, or AOC or Bernie Sanders. But we really got to get off this thing of where we're supporting Israel. And the Democrats need to wake up and realize that we support Palestine and we also support an end to Hamas and Netanyahu. So what I'm saying makes sense. What you're saying makes no sense. How the fuck am I a sheep? Libtards like to quote this number of 100 million dead under communism. And they're right. It's a factual number. But by the same parameters and metrics, in the same time period of a century, capitalism killed 2 billion people. So what the fuck? Why not just have systems that don't kill people and are violent so people don't rise up violently against them? Speaking of some dumb shit being said, atheists in foxholes. There are no atheists in foxholes, that whole thing. Well, who the fuck walks down a cancer ward of children? No, not even that. Not even that. Who? Let's say your own child was diagnosed with brain cancer as an infant. Who the hell are you to believe in the mercifulness of God at that point? How does something or someone exist outside of nature? So would that be the same as saying that someone like God exists outside of reality? Then I'm afraid that means that God is not real. Yes, logic, it really works that way. I feel like if you date a guy for his financial stability, whether you're an atheist or theist, your true God, your true religion, your true spirituality is money. And I'm against the monetary system. I don't like you. I feel like if we want a strong economy, we tax the rich 90% like we did in the 1950s, when things were more prosperous for more people. And the reason for doing that is because we want the poor to be able to afford shit. Because the rich own all the shit. But they want to sell the shit. And they can't afford to sell the shit if the poor have no money to buy their shit. Libtards say some stupid ass shit, and one of them is communism only works in theory. But capitalism doesn't even work in theory. It's all about like destruction of people in order to create a poverty class so that the rich can get richer and the poor can get poorer. It's a system that's designed to fail. It doesn't work. So this is what I'm saying, like, we need a direct democracy based on block by block. Why not just like have a block captain and then they go to the Congress of the neighborhood and the neighborhood goes to the Congress of the city and the city goes to the neighborhood or the Congress of the county and then the state and then the country and so on and so forth. You grow it exponentially upwards instead of this whole top-down thing that we've been dealing with for hundreds of years that doesn't do anything except oppress the weak and the poor. Why don't we just do that? Well, of course, you know, money and power and everything. But I wonder how it's going to be after there's millions of homeless people if the SSI gets shut down from the Trump administration. You know what I mean? They're just... How are people going to buy food? How are people going to afford food without their Social Security checks? Oh, they'll rely on food pantries and food banks. Then why did they cut funding for food banks and food pantries? You see what I mean? It's a problem and people don't realize it's a problem. There's this liberal hand wringing, and then there's also the people that are like, oh, calm down, it'll be okay in the wash. Well, that's the road to fascism now, isn't it? Oh, it'll be okay. It'll all work out. You have things like tariffs, you have deportations, you have cutting of established agencies that help people. You have cutting of food bank pantries and food banks. This is all shit that Herbert Hoover did ahead of the Great Depression, and it seems like Trump is pulling things out of Hitler's playbook by doing everything that he would do, by like ignoring judges saying that his writs are unconstitutional, which they are. So I don't really understand where you're coming from with the hand wringing and the "oh, it's gonna be okay" kind of shit. That to me seems inappropriately optimistic. Do you think I, as an atheist, think that the universe came from nothing? I don't think that. I think the Big Crunch causes the Big Bang. And the reason I think that, along with a lot of people that study Big Bounce theory, to my understanding, is that space-time can itself exceed the speed of light, as it does seem to be in relation to the Earth many megaparsecs away from us at the furthest distances of the known cosmos. It's neither a particle nor a wave. It is a field, which means it is not a ball structure or a wave structure. It is a flat plane. And that itself doesn't behave according to the normal laws of physics, because it's not a particle nor a wave. It is a field or a fabric or a quantum soup. And that itself can, in massive black holes, spin faster than the speed of light. I'm not talking about angular momentum of a particle. I'm talking about it spins, the circularity spins because the black hole spins. And that itself exceeds the speed of light. And there you go. That's how the Big Crunch causes the Big Bang. And it's an infinite cycle.
As an older guy interested in younger males and a libtard, or whatever you want to call me,